Alrighty, well, hey, thanks so much, anyone tuning in. I'm super excited to be chatting with Dimitrios. Forgive me, I'm always going to butcher your name every single time.
That's okay, John.
Excellent. Well, hey, Dimitrios, forgive me, you're over at HackTheBox, HackTheBox Academy, and I got to admit, I don't know your official title, your formal position there. But what are you up to? What are you doing?
So it's great to talk to you again. For everyone who doesn't know me, I'm Dimitrios Bougioukas, and I am serving as the training director at HackTheBox. Essentially, I'm overseeing the Academy product. This is my main focus, and I'm here to discuss any insights you want about our newly launched certification, CPTS.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I just some time ago, pushed out a video to help kind of chat about what CPTS is, the whole Certified Penetration Testing Specialist. Between going through the course material or the training path, the job role path of being a penetration tester, and then what's going to come from it as folks move into the exam. But I, for one, would love to pick your brain on, hey, what sort of inspired this? What made you want to kind of bring this out into the industry and create, some other great training platform to get folks into penetration testing?
Sure. No, this is actually a quite legit question. If we consider that, we have a lot of credible training providers who already provide some solid certifications. So, first of all, I would like to clarify something. Everyone should know that there is no hard competition between the other training providers. At least to my mind, the more credible providers and certification providers are out there, the more secure environments and the better penetration testers and the more diverse penetration testers we can export to the market. Okay, because each one of us has its own methodology, the way and learning approach. So, the more credible and diverse training providers there are out there, it is to the advantage of end users who can choose the one of their preference and enter the market. So, to my mind, there is no direct or extreme competition. So, we are the last to enter this this market, the certification vendor market. We wanted something that is very applicable to the market's needs, that meets the market's needs. So also, if we want to position it, because I have no issue positioning it in terms of the other certifications, the CPTS, the Certified Penetration Testing Specialist certification, is an equivalent to OSCP, GPEN, and ECPPT. So we're talking something along these lines, something that will take you from a beginner level and take you all the way to an intermediate level as a penetration tester, so that you can be, let's say, in a sense, immediately deployable by your employer with, let's say, of course, the appropriate supervision, but without requiring, let's say, your employer to do a lot more training on you so that you are deployable. So we want something to make you as deployable as a penetration tester as possible. So why we decided to do so, we thought that there are some gaps currently in the certification vendor, let's say, market. You are, a very hands-on professional, so you know that, for example, the core of our corporate networks and enterprise networks are very hardened this time around with, Defender picking up at a great pace, EDRs. CMs are also doing some crazy behavioral analysis lately. So we had some gaps that we wanted to push in our training and to stress. So we have a very extensive web part. So because we want our students to be able to assess the perimeter, because truth be told, and as attackers actually do, it may be a lot more easier to penetrate through the perimeter nowadays rather than throwing something on a corporate network through an email. To all this hardening we discussed, we are living in the EDR era. So we wanted a penetration testing curriculum that it is, strong on the web application assessment part, on the Active Directory part for obvious reasons, Windows privilege escalation, Linux privilege escalation, again for obvious reasons, And also we wanted to have a strong aspect on documentation and reporting, because at the end of the day, we don't want to export, let's say, the ultimate hackers out in the market, but we want to create ultimate professionals. This is what the market needs, I believe. So this is more or less the rationale behind, this new certification.
Excellent. It's funny. I think I'm right there in agreement with you, because, I mean, especially as I'm kicking around, seeing any other organization or businesses or companies that have a security posture, any well-postured organization is, hey, rocking the EDR, keep an antivirus locked in. It's got all the hardened configuration that will, or at least do its very best to kind of stop any of those, social engineering or deception or even just phishing emails that might give a threat actor internal and initial access. Seeing a whole lot of it focus in on, you have this public attack surface, whether or not you realize it or not, between the endpoints that are out on the internet. And oftentimes those are websites, just as you mentioned. Like, hey, so getting into what vulnerabilities or what weaknesses or flaws might be present in just that simple web application could very well get your foot in the door, whether it's that command injection, whether there's some SQL injection, or just file upload stuff that just shouldn't be there. And then as you get into the network, you mentioned, hey, you're likely going to land in an Active Directory environment. And that's one, if you're all right with me harping on, I think I'd love to, because it's so funny to me. I think I've seen that become the new hot topic. And just recently, like, hey, as we got into, I guess, 2020 and beyond, I know thousands of other industry professionals have been in Active Directory for eons, but now a lot of the growing and budding and cultivating scene of like, hey, we want to get new penetration testers in the industry, you have to know Active Directory. Can I pick your brain on like, hey, what are the things that you wanted to include as the pillars and pedestals of that to be what people need to know to hit the ground running in a pen tester job role within that Active Directory space?
Sure. I will make a small detour because someone may say that it is essentially a certification that takes you from an entry level and takes you all the way to an intermediate level, as we discussed. But someone may say, isn't Active Directory too steep? And specifically on CPTS, we cover, I think, the vast majority of common attacks on Active Directory, from gold and silver tickets, DC sync, all privilege escalation. Even some slight attacks on abusing domain trusts. So as you can imagine, it is quite comprehensive. But on the other hand, actually, it is standard knowledge nowadays. So yeah, it may sound too steep for an entry-level individual. We did our best to have as a flat of a learning curve as possible. But again, it is standard knowledge, and whether you like it or not, the probabilities are that you will land inside an Active Directory. So, of course, we covered also, as I mentioned, all the popular attacks, also pivoting, port forwarding, because this will be used, and of course, always with a strong focus on enumeration, power view, and so on and so forth, and how to even leverage LDAP if you are a bit more traditional or masochist, if you like, because it is a pain. But other than that, no, it is quite comprehensive when it comes to Active Directory, because whether we like it or not, it is standard knowledge for an entry-level to intermediate pen tester nowadays, as you mentioned.
I'm so happy that you mentioned, hey, just pivoting and port forwarding and kind of expanding your access through, hey, that initial foothold, but then more and more into the network, because it's just necessary. And I think a lot of folks, myself included, even just kind of forget, because we're so used to a classic sort of cookie cutter capture the flag, or, hey, here's one vulnerable machine that you can kind of test your chops on, cut your teeth and get some skills. But when you get into the real environment, it is multi-layer. It's very, very different faceted in aspects with network segmentation. So pivoting and port forwarding is something that I think is great to see emphasized just as well, because that is the reality of it. Is there anything that, I don't know if you can, get into the weeds on like tooling or any of the sweet technology that folks might get a chance to play with? Is it Chisel? Is it Crack Map Exec? Is it, I don't know, rocking with Metasploit or Empire or C2, etc.?
Actually, we try to be as vendor agnostic as possible. Totally. We prefer the command line, when we can. Of course, Metasploit is covered, so we're starting from the basics. No other advanced C2. We have plans for higher tiers for this. So yeah, in terms of pivoting, it is the casual on-terminal port forwarding. It is chisel. It is some crazy SSH jungling, as you know. But yeah, no, it is mostly vendor agnostic, and because we prefer to show the underpinnings. Then if you jump into a C2, you will do things a lot more in an easier manner. But at least we will have the basics covered. So it is mostly hands-on the terminal with the basic toolset.
I think that's the best way to do it. Hey, command line tools, everyone's in on it, and it's always kind of accessible. Like, you don't always have access to this nice, flashy, fancy graphical user interface Windows tool or thing that might be able to, I don't know, make the magic happen. Sometimes it's down and dirty and on the keyboard on the command line. But I will mention on that, if it's all right, because you said, oh man, those SSH port forwardings between forward tunnels and reverse tunnels, I always forget the syntax. I repeatedly, I got to go Google. I need to figure out the arguments. I need to figure out the order of what goes where and how. So I will commend you and the team for just building out all the curriculum for CPTS in this training path, and having it be, honestly, its own reference. Like, everything that is written in there is so thoroughly explained and detailed. It's just, hey, anyone can always look back on there. In addition to their own notes, between the global search within the Academy, you've made it so easy to just, hey, let me go check the cheat sheet again. Let me go look and see what was explained there. And if I may, I think it's an incredible kudos for making just that accessible all the time, in and out. Because was that a decision? Was that a mental play of like, hey, we should make this material always available for the students? Because, hey, sometimes it expires, or sometimes it's just very temporary as you go through it. What was the insight behind, hey, let's give everyone everything?
Yeah. So the answer is twofold. First of all, let's start with Academy's global search, because truth be told, when we designed it, we were thinking that if I was a pen tester and I wanted to find, for example, a syntax, because I also forget about SSH port forwarding syntax all the time, or even IP tables. Don't even get me started with IP tables. So we wanted to act as a cheat sheet for penetration testers as well. So global search is one thing. So it can be used as a cheat sheet during a live pen test. The other thing is, when it comes to the availability of the content, let me clarify that any Academy module that you complete 100%, you have access to it for live, including updates. So in general, our pricing strategy, because HackTheBox is traditionally community-backed, to be honest. So we wanted to have a pricing strategy that meets, of course, we want to meet, the requirements of the market, but also the requirements of our end users. And we also, since we have almost 1 million user base, okay, they have some strong voice that we have to hear. So in general, our whole pricing strategy, I think it is, quite approachable. Let's put it this way. So any module that you complete, no matter how you unlock it, cubes, subscriptions, whatever, you have access to it for life by the time you complete it, and to any updates we do. And also, if you notice, maybe it is not so apparent, but I will share an insight on that. All the entry level, let's say, all the entry to intermediate level positions, something along the lines of a penetration tester, of a SOC analyst, or on an intermediate web application penetration tester, all these curricula will be accessible by the student subscription. So this is on purpose, because we want the entry level roles and the entry level curricula to be applicable by students. As we, of course, proceed to more niche content, of course, we will try to keep it again, we will try to keep prices as low as possible, but prices will increase. But at least we want to give, everyone an approachable and a cost-effective way of entering the market. So any entry-level job role path you will see in Academy, rest assured that will be accessible by the student subscription, which is something along the lines of $7-8 per month. So we will try to do that and on purpose.
I love that. I think that is absolutely awesome and phenomenal, because I think it's easy to once you become a little bit more of a business, you get company structure and all. It's easy to be like, hey, we'll sell this product, we'll offer this service, we'll do what we do for other businesses, for other industry professionals and folks that just know what's already happened in the scene. But I think too often we tend to forget, like, so much of the marketplace, so much of the world, so much of the demographic is students. It's, hey, the folks that are still going through school, going through college, going through university, and just want to dive into this. And I think it's incredible to make it more approachable and accessible and affordable, ultimately, for students, because that's where the passion and the drive and determination really is. So super duper happy to hear it. And thank you for dropping those legitimate numbers and just how simply, oftentimes accessible this is for students and folks just diving in. I know you had mentioned one other great thing that I would love to explore, because at the end of all this thing, hey, once you're cutting through everything on the keyboard, you're slicing and dicing through different machines, you come out of this, hey, sweet hacker Hollywood style stuff, but you got to write a report. You have to prove this. You have to offer it in a bundled up package so that the business at the end of the day can go ahead and make improvements on that. When I've looked into, hey, what you're requiring or what you'd like to see for a provided report, it almost feels a little bit different, almost a little bit more formal and in the best way between others, which I think is still like the necessity of what the industry needs. But do you mind walking me through some more of that, either decision making or process on, like, we have to have students write a report and we have to make it armed to what it should be. We have to hold it to a high standard of building us the presentation that should come after this.
So essentially now we are jumping to the exam territory of CPTS, which in general we wanted it to be very, very realistic. So it is, I don't exactly remember the number of machines, but it is essentially a full Active Directory environment, but you have to do a full pen test, external to internal, so both web app and then, as you can imagine, AD. We wanted it to be realistic, and that means that you have 10 days to complete the pen test. We don't want to be, stressful, because there are professionals who have full-time work to do. They can leverage this way. They can for sure leverage the weekend. So we wanted to be realistic, and we also wanted it. Realistic also means that you have to provide a commercial grade report, and this is a hard requirement. You may get all the points, compromise everything, but then if you don't provide a commercial grade report, it will be a fail, unfortunately. But luckily, we offer a free retake with constructive feedback included, which is okay. So we also guide you on not only on the pen testing aspect, but on the report aspect as well. But again, it is not too steep to create such a report, because we have a dedicated module on documentation and reporting, which is included in the related path. And another insight that I was discussing with the team today, we received some very good feedback from some B2B clients, very clever and on point comments. So we will try to update it. And as you can imagine, everyone, you will receive the update for free, because we want to be very heavy and very much stress the need for a commercial grade report. So this module, which is already comprehensive, I believe, but we will beef it up a little bit more based on the feedback we got from some B2B clients.
That's cool. That is new intel and news for me. But hey, man, I think it goes to show, we're on top of this thing and still making improvements, even as we get some of that feedback or constructive criticism. And again, very happy to hear that that's getting rolled out everywhere for free. Super duper curious, man. What was that sweet sting that they shared? But I would also, if I may, discuss that it is not a one-sided process. Once the student delivers the report and then just washes their hands of it, I think one of the coolest thing that I've seen, and I wish I had dove more into it in the video that I was sharing, was that, like, you and the team and everyone over on staff at HackTheBox Academy is going to end up offering feedback. Like, you did an incredible job on this section, but you just sort of missed the mark when you were cruising through on what the CVSS or CVE like severity score should be, et cetera, on some of these vulns. I think that is awesome because so many times I think students or people or folks learning will spit this thing out, produce the report, and then hope and pray that that's what it should be. But when it's either just a thumbs up or a thumbs down and no other context or explanation behind that, I think it's a bit of a bummer. So thank you. I know it's sometimes a little bit hard to maybe do that at scale, but I think the feedback is absolutely invaluable for folks learning.
Actually, now, John, you mentioned a word that triggered me because I know we have a pain point in CPTS and the job role path in general, which I know we have. And I know you also consider it a bummer. And the bummer in CPTS is that you have to complete the related job role path. Okay. And if it is someone like you who is, a seasoned professional, it may be, you may want to do CPTS. Okay. Just the exam, just for the sake of it. But the rationale behind this bummer, unfortunately, is again, let's say credibility of the exam. We want at the end of the day because we want to stretch out the evaluation, not only of the exam, but also, during the whole journey. So that you go to your potential employer and you don't just have a certification, but you had the whole journey that it was required for you to take. Okay, for a seasoned professional, this is a bummer, I know. It was a very difficult decision to make, actually. There have been a lot of back and forths. But it ended up being a matter of exam credibility. We are new on the market. We want exam credibility. When it comes to quality, I'm not so afraid because, HackTheBox has been there for half a decade and there was never a quality issue in terms of content. And the guidelines from the C-level were, very accurate and crystal clear. Keep the same quality, so I had no other way. I couldn't escape quality. But when it comes to credibility, we had some thinking to do. One is that unfortunately we made the job role path as a hard requirement because we wanted to show to potential employers that this individual went through kind of a small hell until he or she went to the exam. And the other thing, in terms of credibility or proctoring, we didn't go for a too intrusive, let's say, proctoring solution. But there are, I can share this insight as well again. There are, let's say, some anti-cheat mechanisms that are kind of transparent. They are not visible. Some of them are based on analytics. Some are based on the behavior, on how quickly you may be completing modules, sections. Also, the exam has anti-cheat mechanisms. And this is a message for candidates. Don't be surprised or afraid or anything if we contact you. In some cases where there is a slight red flag, we may require that you have a very short call with a committee from the academy team just to clarify some findings. This is just to preserve the integrity and the credibility of the exam because I want to be honest, there is still, there is room for improvement when it comes to credibility since we are very, very new to the market. But we try to be as robust as possible and retain the integrity of the exam as much as possible. With some bummers, I admit, but yeah.
So to be honest, I think I just super appreciate it. I am grateful for, hey, a little bit of that transparency, a little bit of like, we're learning too, we're still figuring this out. So I remember when HackTheBox kind of first got started, and it was the cool new kid on the block, right? But it was at the beginnings, those humble beginnings of like a budding community, sort of like grassroots is not the right word, but it's still this like, hey, the scrappy startup-y thing, let's all learn together. And I would lean into that if it's all right. I'm like, that community thing has grown over the years, and I think we've grown with you. And I think that's so cool, especially as, hey, you're willing to come out on the microphone and say, like, look, we know we still have things to improve on. We know there are things that we excel at, but we are going to experiment and play and figure this thing out. So whether or not there's something where we say, oh man, that's a bummer, but you come and say, hey, you know, we needed to do that because we're thinking this thing through together ultimately. So no, 2 thumbs up for me is just the best that I can say. And there's always going to be things to, I don't know, explore and play with and tinker and tweak. But, you know, you wouldn't find that out unless you just did it. So I'm happy. I'm just ecstatic and excited that CPTS is out and about. With that said, you know, you are also bringing out and you're building this slow assortment and little buffet of great training and certifications. You've also got CBBH, the bug bounty hunter work. If I could kind of help wind this thing down, what's next? I don't know. Is there more that you're cooking up? What else is in the kitchen? What is on the rest of the roadmap and on the horizon for HackTheBox and HackTheBox Academy?
From what I can share from the imminent roadmap, because again there is some experimentation with different niche topics, it would be a logical, let's say, progression to have something dedicated, the job role path dedicated to Active Directory that will be a lot more focused. Also focused in terms of tooling with some nice C2 that we are currently deciding, so that we have some. I don't think it will be something commercial grade, but it will be something at least very robust, very reliable. We will also touch slightly the evasion aspect, but not too much because we want something truly dedicated to that. But for sure, there will be, to sum up, a path dedicated to Active Directory, a job role path dedicated to Active Directory. And most probably, I think that it is about time that we give our blue team friends, you know, some love.
Yes.
And we will try to accommodate that as well. But in a modern sense, with tactical analytics, detection engineering, you know, of course, we will cover the basis. But we will try to be as modern again as possible because we want them to be, you know, very, very applicable as professionals.
I love it. I'm so happy to hear that. That puts a smile on my face. You know, it's inevitable. It's not always hacking. It's not always elite, sexy, red team stuff. Hey, you still got to improve the security posture as a whole. So I'm happy to get some love for our blue teamers and defenders out there. Awesome. Yeah. Well, hey, thank you. I super appreciate us taking some time to chat and, I don't know, chat and showcase and shine the spotlight on a little bit more of CPTS. But am I missing anything, my friend? Is there anything more, hey, you'd like to chime in on? Or did we get all of it? Anything else that I could ask if you wanted to share or chat about?
No, but I think that I get too comfortable in general, you know, talking to you that I share too much sometimes.
No. Well, hey, I think this was awesome. And thank you, for keeping us with it. And I don't know, showing everything that we can on CPTS. I think it's a thing to celebrate. I think it's a massive success. And I hope that everyone tuning in does get a chance to jump in and play with it and learn something new. And hey, go get credentialed, go get certified, go earn that CPTS. And we'll see what HackTheBox Academy is kicking up next. So thanks again. Super appreciate it.